Today I'm interviewing Anthony Yount, winemaker in Paso Robles. Good morning, Anthony. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Ian?
Outstanding. Thank you for joining me. Just want to get to know Anthony Yount a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your professional journey. What got you to where you are today?
Well, I grew up in the wine capital of the world, St. Louis, Missouri, and came out to San Luis Obispo to study agriculture at 18. I'd never been to California before coming out, but absolutely fell in love with the area. Studied agriculture, had to do an internship, and was fortunate to land a gig at Denner Vineyards back in 2006. And I stayed on there. In fact, I'm still consulting there. So I will have done this fall will be my 21st harvest working with fruit from Denner Vineyards. Um, and back in 2012, 13, started consulting for a handful of properties here in Paso, and that's expanded beyond Paso now to a small project in Napa and a little project in Walla Walla. But about 3 years ago, my wife Hillary and I kind of pushed all our chips to the center and said we want our main focus to be our own brands, Kinero, Cellars, and Royal Nonesuch Farm. Kinero being all whites from high limestone sites, and Royal Nonesuch Farm is our estate vineyard out on York Mountain.
Wow, how great. And uh you you sound like you came from an ag background to be able to become a winemaker. Is that was that the idea when you came to California that you'd become a winemaker?
I don't think so. I mean, who at 18 knows what they want to do?
Exactly, right?
I we grew up close to the city of St. Louis, but we had landlords that had a 12,000 acre cattle ranch, and so the minute I could drive, I would drive out and stay in our little single wide trailer we had out there and buck bales and castrate bulls, and I loved that work, kill chickens, whatever they were doing, I was in on. I loved that work, but I also saw just how, hard they worked and the hours and just brutally painful. So my sort of vision at 18, 19, 20 was how do I take that and kind of vertically integrate it into something that I can sell to um, a consumer instead of, working through the whole system and they made, nothing. They were land rich and poor, dirt poor, but I found wine once I got out here and just fell in love, and the rest is history.
I get it. Believe me, it is something very similar for myself. And today, you and your wife with Kinero. Um, how long have you been making Kinero?
So I started Kinero back in 2008. I was working for Chris Cherry at Via Creek at the time, and he kind of nudged me into making a little bit of wine. And he said, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to make high acid white wines from high limestone soils." And he's like, "Well, I'll buy you your first barrel." And I found this Grenache Blanc. It's the fruit sourcing has changed since then as vineyards have been removed, but it was actually farmed by my good friend Hillary Graves. Um, and the Black Seth Vineyard, the original planting. And now we work with three different vineyards for this wine back here in Paso, all high elevation, high limestone in the Willow Creek in the Adelaida district. And my wife Hillary is a fourth generation California wine grape grower. So as you can imagine, our pillow talk this time of year is incredibly sexy between powdery mildew indexes and shoot vertebrate pest management, but we do it together and only occasionally argue about it.
That's so funny. Um, well, I have the had the great pleasure of tasting your wine, using your wine in a beautiful event, and it was really well enjoyed. They poured it this weekend at the Milk and Wealth Conference in Beverly Hills, and there wasn't a bottle remaining by the end of the
Oh,
event.
amazing. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah. So it went over very well. And I just think that Grenache Blanc is like the epitome of what people should be drinking, could be drinking, if they just knew a little bit more about it. Uh, what is the secret behind your Grenache Blanc and the goal for this wine?
Yeah, so we really want to capture what limestone brings in white wines, and that's sort of across the whole portfolio. But this is really the flagship wine for us. And for me, the interpretation of limestone through white wine is both texture and acidity. And so with Grenache Blanc, it doesn't handle oak very well, so we avoid oak altogether. You can probably see the giant amphora behind me here. And then I also have an egg there. And we have another egg in another room. So each of our three vineyards goes into a specific vessel that we've designed and purchased for it. We use those neutral vessels, and specifically the relatively high oxidative vessels of concrete and amphora, because they build texture relatively quickly in that wine. And then they very slowly, sort of, those pores clog up, and we can focus the energy and the freshness. So it's a combination of texture, brininess or salinity that we're capturing from picking on the leaner side. And then you've got these vessels that constantly stir the solids in the ferment and
Yeah.
build mouthfeel, texture. But we're certainly not shy on acidity. This wine is 3.2 pH. It's got 6.5 grams of acid. It'll cut through fat. It'll cut through spice. So I like that juxtaposition between fruit aromatics, textural mid palate, and sort of ripping acidity on the backside.
I love the wine. It's great to meet you. Look forward to tasting more of your product. And thank you for the interview.
Thanks, Ian.
Have a good day.
You too.